Thank you, Sophie. On Spotlight tonight, easing pressure on fire service resources. Changes to automatic fire alarm call-outs are considered.
There's a significant amount of time wasted in our crews mobilising to these incidents. We can't simply be used to go and check these systems for false alarms.
Also on the programme this evening, a hospital health check.
The health watchdog says improvements are still needed in the emergency department at Cornwall's main hospital.
Optimism and enthusiasm, but concerns over rising costs. I've been taking the temperature of the tourism industry ahead of the 2025 holiday season.
And the eagle has landed in Cornwall. Birdwatchers flock to a very rare sight. An unnecessary burden on resources. The assessment of Devon and Somerset Fire Service of its response to most automatic fire alarms. In an effort to conserve firefighter power, a 12-week public consultation begins today over plans to stop responding to them. The Chief Fire Officer says crews would still attend any incident with a confirmed sign of fire. Well, our Home Affairs correspondent Ben Wolven is here with more on this. Ben.
Thanks, Victoria. Yes, the Devon and Somerset Fire Service says around a third of the fire-related incidents its crews are mobilised to are from automatic fire alarms. But the number of these that turn out to be genuine emergencies is tiny. In the Devon and Somerset Fire Service control room this morning, we were shown what happens when an automatic fire alarm goes off. At the moment, a red flashing light results in one of the operators making a call to ask if there's a real fire. Often the answer they get isn't conclusive. Over the last 5 years, there have been more than 55,000 automatic fire alarm alerts. Of those, the fire service attended nearly 27,000 times. And despite those check calls being made, fewer than 3% of them turned out to be real fires.
There's a significant amount of time wasted in our crews mobilising to these incidents, and it impacts on our on-call colleagues that come in for emergencies and their primary employers, where they're being released to go to an emergency which then turns out to be a false alarm.
The Devon and Somerset Fire Service says its crews are responding to an average of 16 false alarms every day. Today it's published 5 options for change. Option 1 would mean sticking with current procedures. The most far-reaching option 5 would mean not responding to automatic fire alarms at any time from offices, theatres, cinemas, shopping centres, libraries, pubs or churches, unless, of course, there's a confirmed sighting of fire. It would also mean not responding to automatic fire alarms from hotels or some hospitals during the daytime on weekdays. All care homes are exempt from the proposed changes. Most hospitals are also exempt, but North Devon District Hospital and Yeovil District Hospital could be affected. This 5th option would save the service an estimated figure of nearly £130,000 a year. I asked the Chief Fire Officer what he said to those who may be concerned.
I would say that we will always be there when people need us. We will always turn out to a smell of smoke or a sign of fire. We know in modern times now there's much more use of mobile phones, modern technology where fire can be detected. What we are seeing is repeat offenders where we've got antiquated and old systems that need modernising, and we will work with those businesses and those responsible people to make sure that that is what we are mobilising to and give them the best chance of being able to alert us if there is a real fire.
By way of further reassurance, the service also says that if the changes had been in place over the last 5 years, that would not have resulted in any further deaths or serious injuries. There's more information on the BBC News website, and the public survey is live on the Fire Service website for 12 weeks. Fire unions have said they'll respond in due course. Victoria.
Ben, thank you very much. An overcrowded emergency department, unacceptable delays for care, lengthy waits in ambulances and patients being treated in a corridor. Some of the findings of the health watchdog when it inspected the Royal Cornwall Hospital's urgent and emergency care last spring. The Care Quality Commission said improvements are still needed, while the Trust says a lot of work has been done to tackle waiting and discharge times. Tamsin Melville reports.
The
The emergency department at the Royal Cornwall Hospital today, a pressured environment and somewhere the health watchdog has said still needs improvements.
Hello, my lovely, it's Martin, nurse in charge.
The inspection was back in May, following concerns about waiting times. Inspectors found an overcrowded emergency department leading to delays. Patients fit for discharge staying longer than necessary because care for them outside the hospital wasn't ready. Essential staff training frequently cancelled because of staffing pressures, and staff under pressure and concerned about the impact this was having on the quality of care. But the report also highlights staff working hard to provide safe care in challenging conditions, and the trust was re-rated good for being caring, well-led and safe.
My message would be that we are concerned and we are seeking to improve and making real tangible steps forward, but that underlying that requires improvement is a recognition that our care is safe, and patients must understand that if they feel they need emergency care, then they should access emergency care and shouldn't be afraid of doing so, and that we will be able to provide safe care.
The Care Quality Commission also inspected a ward where there were concerns about the number of old people falling, recommending it was modernised and made dementia-friendly.
The two reports provide a fair, appropriate reflection of the services that we provide. We do need to see further improvements going forward, and we're absolutely clear and focused on that, and we've taken some of those forward.
But 8 months on from the inspector's visit to ED, the hospital is fresh from a 6-day critical incident. The team here, though, say a lot has been done to work more closely with other parts of the health and care system.
We were able to de-escalate from the critical incident more quickly than would have been the case last year. I think that's a reflection of the improvements and the actions that have been taken. Yes, of course, though, we are under pressure. We were, particularly during that critical incident.
And those winter pressures are still here, and the message remains for the public to do what they can to keep the system flowing, and only attending the emergency department for a life or limb-threatening condition. Tamsin Marvel, BBC Spotlight, Truro.
In other news across the southwest this evening, police are appealing for witnesses after one woman died and another suffered serious injuries following a 3-vehicle crash in Devon. The incident took place at about 3 p.m. yesterday on the A361 near South Molton. The female driver, in her 60s from West Yorkshire, was pronounced dead at the scene. A harbour authority in Plymouth has seized illegal nets filled with trapped fish. Catwater Harbour Commissioners says the nets on the River Plym were deployed by unlit craft during the hours of darkness. It's asked the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity. A 36-year-old woman has been arrested for driving on the wrong side of the M5 between Columpton and Exeter. Police were notified by multiple motorists just before 8 p.m. on Sunday. The woman from Exeter was stopped and arrested on suspicion of driving whilst unfit through drugs and for dangerous driving. Survival of the fittest, that's the prediction for the year ahead from the boss of UK hospitality, which represents hotels, bars, restaurants and pubs. Kate Nichols is in the southwest speaking at a tourism summit organised by Visit Cornwall. Our tourism correspondent Kirk England reports.
Whether it's the owners of attractions or those running holiday cottage businesses, there's plenty of enthusiasm and optimism here. But one industry insider has told me that for those in tourism and hospitality, it's never been more challenging to make a profit. So how do businesses feel ahead of the 2025 holiday season?
So it's been quite an uncertain few years, and I think that there is a lot of uncertainty still going into 2025.
I'm hearing a lot of optimism, but it's not feeding through to bookings yet.
As we're coming into the 2025 season, I feel nervous but also excited.
Focused firmly on the future.
This year's summit couldn't come at a more pivotal time for Cornwall, given the tough trading conditions of 2024 and the unique combination of challenges we have ahead in 2025.
So, what's on people's minds?
I think what we're sort of asking our councils, regional and national government to say is, help us get people to Cornwall, and when they're here, we will make sure they will have a brilliant time.
Like everybody, we found 2024 very tough. 2025 is shaping up to be even tougher. Our bookings this year are down by volume and they're also down by value. They're down by value because we haven't put our prices up very much. I'm not worried about it at the moment. I'm continuing to recruit on the basis we are going to have a good season and that bookings will pick up.
I'm nervous in the fact that, pre-pandemic levels of tourist numbers aren't there, and quite honestly, with the rising costs, and they're soon to rise again, we would need to see them higher than that.
The government says planned increases in wages and national insurance will help put Britain's finances on a firmer footing. And
well, there is some optimism. The economy is starting to improve, consumer sentiment is getting better and bookings are looking strong. However, with a £3.5 billion tax bombshell coming from the government in April, it's never been harder for the operators to be able to turn a profit and generate the money they need to be able to maintain their businesses.
what could the impact of those changes announced in the budget be?
Well, put simply, it's going to be about survival of the fittest, but many of them are already operating at or below break even. So for some of them, this will sadly be the end of the road.
Well, the government says that thriving hospitality and tourism sectors are vital to growing the economy. They also say that later this year, a new national visitor economy strategy will be published, which it says will lay out plans to support the growth of the tourism industry. Kirk England, BBC Spotlight, Truro.
There are calls for St Ives Bay to be made a marine protected area following the arrival of a handful of ring netting trawlers in the bay. Wildlife organisations and local handline fishermen say the method of fishing removes too many of the fish in one go and affects populations of seals and dolphins who appear to have moved elsewhere looking for food. Lucy Fisher reports.
This footage, shot by members of the public over New Year, shows 3 trawlers fishing for sardines in St Ives Bay with the use of large ring nets. There's no suggestion they're doing anything they're not allowed to, but it's caused concern for wildlife.
The boats were in depths of 10 metres less and the nets are 60 metres deep, and it's really hard to understand how with that amount and weight of net on the seabed no damage is going to be caused. And since they've gone, the seal numbers have gone down from 250-ish to 150 on the nearby sites, and large numbers of dolphins haven't been reported. Now, they would be here if there was fish here, and they're not here, suggesting that they've had to go elsewhere to find food.
Wildlife volunteers say they spotted up to 4 trawlers in the bay on 6 different occasions over the Christmas period. But those involved in the ring netting say that's rare, and they work very closely with scientists and conservationists, more so than other fisheries. Gus Castlake spoke to us on behalf of the ring netters.
In terms of legislation, the ring netters are free to fish right up to the shores in Cornwall under their licence, so they're allowed to come into the bay. They rarely come around to St Ives because they're based in Newlyn and it's quite a long way. They only ever come round to St Ives when the fish isn't closer to home.
To be clear, the wildlife experts we've spoken to don't question the general sustainability of this method of fishing. The concerns over the particular impact that removing large volumes of sardines from the bay itself has on its unique ecosystem. And local fishermen who use traditional hand lines say they're forced to watch on from the harbour, knowing they'll be left with little to catch.
It is going to damage our fishery. As much as the science can say sardine stocks are good, for us that's not what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about our fishery here, which I've been fishing since I left school, over 10 years plus, and there's over 10 ring netters now in Newlyn. I mean, we had 3 here, and the impact that 3 can do here is bad enough. You take away the smallest fish, and the other fish aren't going to come in here. We've got tuna in the bay, which can get in the net. We've got seals and dolphins.
But the stock is there, and we've been fishing for sardines for centuries. So, it's a very, very sustainable method of catching sardines.
But it's the amount they catch in one go that's causing the concern. And there are now calls for the area to be protected.
I think now in hindsight, having a marine conservation zone area or a protected area of some description in the bay would be supremely helpful.
It'd be nice for St Ives Bay to be kind of ring netters not to be allowed right into the bay in the shallow areas, so just like a line from the island over to Godrevy. It'd be nice to have a kind of conservation area where it's basically for handline fishing and a few pots and stuff like that.
Sardines come inshore at dusk, which is why the fishing continued into night. The industry is reassuring people that it is sustainable and a nutritious food source, just that for some, this particular bay should be off limits to ring netting. Lucy Fisher, BBC Spotlight.
Well, in response to calls for a marine protected area, DEFRA says the UK is at the forefront of marine protection with just over 38% of UK waters designated. We continue to work closely with the Marine Management Organisation to implement bylaws to manage fishing activity in English waters. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. Still to come in tonight's Spotlight, the first signs of spring, thank goodness, and we're out in the sunshine.
Is the apple tree in your garden looking a bit tired and emotional? If so, I've come to Cotehill to learn some tricks of the trade when it comes to pruning.
John Henderson sounding cheerful. Developers are paying Exeter City Council up to £7.5 million to avoid providing affordable housing in a massive housing scheme. Demolition work is due to begin this summer on the site of the old Harlequin shopping centre. When the scheme for more than 380 studios and flats was given planning permission 3 years ago, it was agreed 20% of homes would be affordable housing for key workers. Guernsey-based developer Curlew Alternatives Property says the scheme is no longer viable due to rising building costs and falling property values. The Labour-run council says the deal makes the project deliverable while still getting money to provide affordable homes elsewhere.
Harlequins was meant to provide city centre living, affordable, especially for key workers, and now there will be nothing. They've offered us a cash instead, but it's very difficult for the council to build housing and to get it brought online quickly, and young people can't get on the housing register, so it is a complete disaster.
Birdwatchers have been flocking to West Cornwall to catch a glimpse of a very rare creature which is hardly ever seen in the UK. The booted eagle is more common in southern or eastern Europe, but this sighting has got enthusiasts travelling down from all over the country to get a view of it. John Ayres has more.
It's a beautiful creature so rarely seen on our shores, but after it was first spotted at Marazion Marsh on Sunday, it's generated plenty of excitement.
There was immediately a lot of interest from local bird watchers in the Penzance and Truro areas, many of whom were here within half an hour. Now, most booted eagles seen in the UK hang around for a few hours, and this one's now stayed for 3 days, which has allowed not only local Cornish birders to come and see and photograph it, but also people from all over the country.
And one of those is Mark Dawson from Nottinghamshire, who immediately drove down and slept overnight in his car to get to see it.
I think it was 25 years ago. I saw one very badly, not very far away from here at Drift. And I've chased 2 more since, is it last year, and missed them all. So I was extremely pleased to actually see this bird.
So what is it about this bird that makes it so special?
Booted eagles come in 2 flavours. One is all dark and could be confused with a buzzard. This is a pale bird with a very distinctive underside that can't be confused with anything else.
There were 2 records of sightings last year. This is thought to be one of those 2 birds. John Ayres, BBC Spotlight, Marazion.
A bit of sports news now. In Plymouth Argyle began life under new manager Miran Muslic with a 1-1 draw against Oxford United at Home Park last night. After going behind just before half-time, Argyle equalised in the second half through a header from Rami Al-Hajj to earn Muslic a point in his first game in charge. Argyle remain bottom of the Championship table, 3 points from safety. Now then, do you know your lady's fingers from your pig's nose? How about a Collegiate Pippin? Just 3 of the 120 varieties of apples growing in the orchards at the Cotehill National Trust estate near Gunners Lake. And if you have an apple tree in your garden, then you'll know this is the time to get pruning. John Henderson has been to see how the professionals do it.
Cutting to grow. Sharon's one of the gardeners at Cotehill who loves lopping.
I also like the fact that we're able to keep them healthy, and it's a long-term thing. These will be here a long time after I've gone, and the fact that other people will be able to enjoy them because of something that I've done and the care that I've placed with them, it's important.
There are about 80 trees, mostly apple varieties, in the old garden at the estate.
And then just the other side of the wall, we've got another orchard, our mother orchard, and there we've got about 300 trees, 125 varieties. So a really busy time for us in the garden at the moment.
So what are they doing in the sunshine? First off, it's pruning. And here's the first top tip.
So the worst thing you can do to your apple tree is do nothing. So if you're not too sure, waiting another year, you're just going to have a bigger problem next year. And the trees that perhaps have got away a little bit too much, they've not been pruned for a few years, do it very gently, because if you prune the tree really hard, the tree is going to respond really well with lots of vigour, and then you're going to start this battle with the tree growing and you trying to control the growth, and I know who's going to win. So little and often, sort of a maximum of 20% removing.
Next top tree tip, get grafting.
So the other part of the job we're doing at the moment is looking after our collection of trees. So what we're looking to do is to graft new trees onto new rootstock. So we have a sloping cut of about an inch, inch and a quarter long, and we are looking to join the two sticks together, and we'll use an elastic band to attach that together, and over a 12-month period that will bond to become a strong connection, and then you've got your new apple tree.
And here's what that graft looks like all those years later. You can see where it's grafted on to this cherry tree. Volunteers here are gathering raw materials for a free public grafting session that's happening on the second weekend in February. John Henderson, BBC Spotlight, Cotehill.
And it's that time of year, isn't it, where people start to get out a bit more because the weather has been quite nice. But a little bit of mist this morning, David, though, just hanging around.
It's been a lovely day. It
really
has
nice.
been a lovely day. We had quite a bit of mist. Thank you, Victoria. Yeah, this is one of our Weather Watchers pictures in Somerset, and we've had quite a lot of mist and fog first thing today. It's reforming now, so there's going to be a problem again overnight tonight, and that mist and fog will continue to plague us. But we've had some lovely weather today, and this was the sunset here in Plymouth from the roof of the BBC just as the sun was going down. Of course, with this clear sky, it also means it will turn somewhat colder than of late, so we're going to see quite chilly overnight temperatures and a risk of frost just about anywhere overnight tonight, along with that mist and fog forming quite quickly. Thank you to Paul for our pictures for this evening. These are some of the other ones we've had today. This is obviously a drone shot from Newquay. What a beautiful shot of the sunrise this morning. Shows that low cloud around as well. This is the Lizard, looking absolutely splendid with a lovely clear horizon. Good visibility away from that mist and fog. And the other thing about the last couple of days is just how good the surf has been. Tomorrow's surf equally as good. North and south coast. Smaller waves on the south coast, but 4 to 5 feet. And a long break between those individual waves means some really quite excellent surfing conditions if you can brave the sea surface temperature, which is down around 11 degrees at the moment. The forecast for tomorrow, very similar to today, dry, morning mist and fog, some brief sunny spells, but the general theme for tomorrow is a lot more cloud coming our way, and it's creeping in from the east. Now, the higher satellite picture doesn't show all of the low cloud, but there is some of that already reforming now. The area of high pressure just slips away eastwards over the next 24 hours and just allows a bit more moisture in. It also allows some of that low cloud to come in from the near continent. So we could end up with a fairly cloudy end to the week. Brief sunny spells, but certainly a lot more cloud than we've seen today. This is Saturday. We've got a southerly wind. Eventually that weather front will bring some patchy light rain and drizzle on Sunday, but some uncertainty just how quickly that turns up. And we just, with a southeast wind, pull in some slightly lower temperatures as we end the week as well. So perhaps not as warm as we would like, but then the mildness starts to return as we go into Sunday on that weather front. Now, fog is already forming in places right now. It will continue to do so. At the same time, we get some low cloud creeping in from the east.
Minimum temperatures, bit of a range of those. I think right on the coast 5 or 6. But it's inland, especially where we've started the night with clear sky. We could be down to freezing overnight tonight. And this is tomorrow's forecast. As I said, that mist and fog a problem in the morning, but generally a lot more cloud around. So for those that have had the blue sky and the glorious sunshine today, it isn't going to be the same tomorrow. It's going to be quite a grey day. There'll be a few holes. Temperatures up to about 10 degrees again tomorrow. That's 50 in Fahrenheit. Winds generally light. For the Isles of Scilly here, also more cloud, dry with sunny spells, and the best of those will be in the morning before it generally clouds over. These are our times of high water. Padstow 6:55, Portland 8:13 tomorrow morning, and the winds are generally very light. The wind direction from the south or southeast, no more than a force 3. Fair, although there is some mist and fog through the channel at the moment, and some of that could be just touching the coast. That's the forecast for the weekend. Those temperatures struggling a little bit, but by next week, I think we'll see those weather fronts come in, so more cloud, but still a lot of settled weather. Have a nice evening. Victoria.
Lovely, thank you, David. And that's it from the team this evening. If you have a story for us, get in touch via email spotlight@bbc.co.uk, and we hope to join us again tomorrow. Good night.